Hello everyone! I decided to do a different type of video today. As you may know, I love movies, and as a movie viewer yourselves, you may realize that the movie industry is changing and is a bit different than it used to be, especially for those who are a little bit older. You remember how it was before the franchising, before sequels, reboots, and just all-around remakes. You remember there was a time in cinema where there was original content or just fresh ideas that did not follow a formula or were just rehashed old ideas. And I've been thinking about films lately. What brings this to my attention is the slate of films over the past couple of years in this decade, but also the whole Rotten Tomatoes type of scandal, aggregated scores, critics' opinions versus audience's opinions, and film is a beautiful art because film is subjective. It's in the eye of the beholder, much like any other art form. Film only matters in whoever's viewing it. So, some person may not like a film, another person may love it, and that's the beauty of film. We can all have different opinions of it. But lately, it's been kind of overwhelming hearing the different type of scores, whether or not you should go see a movie. Critics love it, so you should love it. People hate this, you should hate it. And it's been really kind of polarizing this decade in films. I mean, you can look at Star Wars The Last Jedi, BVS, Justice League, Bright. There are many other films, but like Last Jedi, for instance, I think it had its problems, but I can understand people for loving it. However, you should not negate people for not liking a film. And that's part of the problem in our climate now, and maybe it's in addition to the internet and social media. Everybody has to follow a bandwagon, everybody has to have an opinion on a movie. If it differs from another person, then that person is wrong, and that's just all around just wrong. It's wrong. And I'm just trying to figure out, how do we get to this climate in film? It used to be when you used to have a film, you were not judged as a success or a failure on opening weekend. Sure, Jaws and Star Wars kind of changed the film industry forever with the blockbuster, with opening weekends. But you still had other films that did not do quite as well, but still had a good run, and with home video had better success on home video that warranted sequels. Now, it's make or break on an opening weekend, and why is that? Why is that? And film, besides being art, has always been a commercial industry. It's always been about tickets, getting people into the theaters, having popcorn, getting a whole bunch of revenue off their films. And I don't blame the studio for not wanting to have original ideas. It doesn't make that much money. And ever since 2008, I think that's where the reboots and remakes started. You had recession-proof films. You get familiar properties that people trust in. They're willing to go see something they're familiar with and something just totally original and new, even though many people have been thirsty and hungry for something original and new. And occasionally you do get like a Baby Driver, Under the Skin, Blade Runner 2049, and I wasn't surprised that Blade Runner did not do well. The original flopped. It was not a big success. That was a very underrated kind of cult movie. So it doesn't surprise me that a movie 30 years later would not do as well, but it's sad that a big budget movie like that doesn't make as much money as, say, some of the Marvel or DC films. And that's sad. People are tired of the same old properties. They have the same formula. You have Marvel with the jokes, a bunch of CGI, and it's almost like you're watching the same movie. And other movies are like that. You have sequels, remakes, Star Wars even. Star Wars is practically a loose adaptation of A New Hope, and then with Last Jedi being a loose adaptation, rehash of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's like they get familiar ideas, mix them up, and then send them out as something new and bold, when really it's not. It's just ripping off previous material. But what have we seen that is new? You know, there hasn't been a fresh idea. Something's always based on something. But it's not about that. It's more primarily the remakes, reboots, sequels, and just older material we've already seen. And sometimes it's great, like Mad Max Fury Road, and other times it's beating a dead horse, you know? And some things should be left alone, but I wonder what's up with the film industry. It feels like it was very underwhelming last year in 2017. You had a lot of great movies, but they themselves were kind of a letdown. There was a lot of hype around it, but the films themselves were just kind of mediocre or okay, you know? It wasn't like previous years or even in previous decades where you see a film that completely blows you away. That you're like, you see that and you're like, that's a movie, that's a film. And it's crazy. I feel like I'm watching commercials now. And films, I feel now, only are made to make money. They don't care about story, characters, and also they're made to amuse people instead of have an emotional connection to people, to the audience. It's almost like people rather be amused themselves laughing at jokes, cutesy stuff, look at the camera, haha, we made a joke, haha, instead of feeling a connection to something. And that's not only within the superhero genre, that's in every single genre almost in film. And I'm talking about the major tentpole films. That doesn't mean you don't have great movies. You do have great movies. They're just kind of like obscure with all the other junk over it. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did that happen? We have different genres of film, different types of movies we have. The anti-heroes were very strong after Vietnam with Death Wish, Dirty Harry, French Connection. And I think the superhero genre really went strong after 9/11, the certain climate in the country. We always have different periods within our society, within the country, within the world, where different type of films emerge, different type of genres. But lately, it's almost like Hollywood has ran out of ideas, or they just don't care. And I think that's what bothers me. It's not the fact that they're reusing stuff. It's the fact that they don't put very much effort as they used to. There's a great difference between Jurassic World, say, compared to Jurassic Park. Even Star Wars compared to the original 6 Star Wars films by George Lucas. A lot of films are feeling soulless and just almost made to amuse people, sell toys, and make jokes. And there's just something missing that older films had. But I also don't like the climate of like, you should love this, you should hate this. Films are subjective, and I don't like that a film is judged to be good or bad, a success or failure based on its opening weekend. Older films didn't even know that until their entire theatrical run was done. And again, when home video came into play, that was a factor. A lot of movies that are franchises now would not have been that successful without that element in there. And who's to say what's a classic? You can't really judge a classic. Certain films are looked up upon, they're looked down upon. Other films don't make that much and become cult classics much later. You just never know, and that is the beauty of film. And this video is quite different from my other review videos, but I just wanted to present this vlog and my thoughts on the current status of the film industry now. And there's been better quality content on television and streaming, different methods of distribution, different forms of storytelling, done in a much better way with much longer time with TV episodes. If you look at Stranger Things, Ozark, Narcos, stuff like that, Game of Thrones on HBO, Westworld, that's kind of taken over the film industry in many ways and is made with a type of storytelling and just all-around quality that films used to be made with on a regular basis. And you kind of lose the middle class of films. It's either really obscure independent films or big budget films. You don't have that middle class of films anymore. It's just kind of gone. You know, I don't know if Godfather would be made. Rocky wouldn't be made now. So it's just very interesting to me looking on the status of the film industry. If you're watching this video, if anybody watches this, feel free in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on the film industry. If you watch movies, what do you think about the whole franchise reboot sequel thing? Just let me know in the comments below.